Alright, welcome to the stream of Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Let me just start the game. And we will be doing a Knuckles playthrough, and I'll explain why momentarily. So there's a few choices I can choose for a character. Sonic, Sonic with Tails as a companion, Tails solo, or Knuckles solo. And I will be choosing Knuckles. And let me just make sure everything's good to go on this. Alright, here we go. So, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is one game comprised of two games. And what I mean by that is it comes as two cartridges. So, originally, Sonic the Hedgehog 3 was released for the Sega Genesis. And I'm not gonna do these all these special stages because I don't want to collect the Chaos Emeralds. But I'll just demonstrate this real quick, and then I'll get back to my explanation of what this game is. So these array of blue spheres, if you just get the outer edges, it'll turn all of them into rings. But the idea is to collect all the blue spheres and avoid the red ones. I'm only really going to do like maybe one or two of these special stages just to show off what it is. And I'll explain why I'm not going to do them all in a bit. But as you can see, it gets faster as you proceed. Okay, so as I was saying, Sonic 3 was released for the Sega Genesis, but Sega was not able to fit everything they wanted to fit within that game, both due to cartridge limitations as well as development time. They also, at a later point, worked on Sonic and Knuckles. Now, when it comes to character selection, for Sonic 3, your choices were Sonic solo, Tails solo, or Sonic with Tails as a companion. For Sonic and Knuckles, your choices were either Sonic or Knuckles, no Tails at all. These two can be bought and played as separate games. So Sonic 3, you can play it as its own game. You can play Sonic and Knuckles as its own game. However, Sonic and Knuckles has a secondary slot on the top of the cartridge. So normally on the bottom of the cartridge there's a connector where you connect it into your Sega Genesis system, right? Well, Sonic and Knuckles had the bottom connector, but also had a top connector which allowed you to plug in Sonic 3 on top of Sonic and Knuckles. And when you did that, it combined the games into a single game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. And this did a few things. It would allow you to play as any of the character options in any of the games, which meant that you could play as Tails in the Sonic and Knuckles stages, and you could play as Knuckles in the Sonic 3 stages. And the stages ran sequentially. So after you finished the stages for Sonic that were in Sonic 3, you would then immediately start the Sonic and Knuckles stages. When I played Sonic and Knuckles originally back in the 90s, I was kind of surprised at how hard it was. I'm pausing it just to explain. I didn't realize at the time that Sonic and Knuckles was meant to be the latter half of a combined game. And the reason, so as I was saying, you normally couldn't play as Tails in the later stages of Sonic and Knuckles, and you couldn't play as Knuckles in the Sonic 3 stages. So the reason I chose to do this playthrough as Knuckles is because the Knuckles experience is pretty unique compared to the other players' experience. There's some differences about the Knuckles experience that I think makes it worthwhile to highlight. So like for instance, for Sonic and Tails, and this is the first stage of the combined game and also the first stage of Sonic 3. Sonic and Tails would proceed upwards. Sonic would have a spring to bounce up higher, Tails would simply fly up. But for Knuckles, you would go through this wall. There was walls in this game that only Knuckles could break through, and the interesting part was these walls existed in the original Sonic 3 game even before Sonic and Knuckles came out. There was just no way to use them until you combine the games. So I remember when I played Sonic 3 on its own before, I was trying to do everything I could to like break those walls, not knowing that the only possible way to break those walls was to play as Knuckles once that capability became available. The story is also different. So for Knuckles, canonically he's not the brightest character. So in this storyline, he's deceived by Eggman, who at this point in the American versions was known as Dr. Robotnik, but overseas known as Eggman. And in later American games was also called Eggman. But Eggman was deceiving Knuckles into believing that Sonic was trying to steal the Master Emerald that Knuckles is sworn to protect. And so Knuckles, for the most part, is an antagonist character towards Sonic. And that changes later on. I didn't want to lose that fire shield because the fire shield is pretty helpful for the boss of this stage. So basically there's shields you can grab. The character that can take the best advantage of shields is Sonic because they give him extra abilities. But for other characters, they still give you defensive capabilities. And in the case of the fire shield, it makes you completely immune to fire damage. And since the boss of this zone only does fire damage, it makes you pretty much invincible unless you fall off the edge. But maybe I can find another fire shield before then. And if not, it's okay because it's not that difficult. As you can see, Knuckles has the ability to glide and climb up walls, so traversal of stages is easier for Knuckles than the other characters, except for possibly Tails. But there's a trade-off. Unlike Sonic and Tails, in exchange for easier traversal, Knuckles has harder boss fights. So instead of fighting Eggman, Knuckles fights Egg Robo, and even the mini bosses are harder versions for Knuckles. So you have an easier time with the stages, but a harder time with the boss fights. And that's just the trade-off for playing as Knuckles. Tails sort of gets the best of both worlds. Easier traversal and still kind of easy bosses. Yep, doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get the fire shield. That's okay. So here, normally this would be Eggman in the cockpit, but here you see a robot named Egg Robo. And this version of the fight is going to be harder than like this double fire shot that I just jumped over. That doesn't happen with the version that Sonic and Tails fight. This is a pretty mild example because that's really the only difference with this fight. But later on, other bosses are going to be significantly harder for Knuckles. And back to what I was saying about not wanting to complete the special stages here. There's a variety of different special stages in these games. The ones with the giant rings are for obtaining Chaos Emeralds. And so in Sonic 3, you could obtain for both Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, you could obtain 7 Chaos Emeralds and then transform into a super version of the character. Super Sonic, Super Tails, or Super Knuckles. In the combined version, after you collect all 7 in the first stages, you have the ability in later stages to collect 7 Super Emeralds. So after being able to transform into a super character, it'll allow you to start transforming into the hyper characters, Hyper Sonic, Hyper Tails, or Hyper Knuckles. Well, unlike later, I'm playing the original Sega Genesis version, and in this version, there was a bit of a quality of life issue when it came to transformations. The way to transform was to double jump. And unfortunately, that's also the way you use Knuckles' glide ability and Tails' fly ability. And if you happen to have 50 or more rings, it'll automatically activate your transformation whether you want to or not. And that can make playing as Knuckles or Tails pretty inconvenient if you have all 7 Chaos Emeralds or all 7 Super Emeralds. The only character who it's worth doing this for is Sonic, and the reason for that is because only Sonic has a unique boss fight that is only available if you've unlocked the Super or Hyper version. And I may or may not show off that boss fight as part of this stream. I might actually do that. Ooh, I'm two rings away from getting an extra life. There we go. Lives are kind of... So, in early Genesis games, Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic and Knuckles, lives are pretty important because when you run out, it's game over. It's less of an issue in Sonic 3 and in this combined game because the Sonic 3 cartridge was unique in that it allows you to save the game after each zone. So you couldn't save after each act, but you could save after each zone. So if you did get a game over, you just have to repeat the zone. So it's not as big of a deal. Unlike the other games where if it was game over, you literally had to repeat the entire game. Oh no, I got one of these... Okay. Sometimes these piranhas can be hard to get off and they'll just continuously drain your rings. And I have a bubble shield which gives me immunity from drowning, which can be helpful for this boss. Because I can't... So, one thing about downside about Knuckles is he can't jump as high as Sonic. So it kind of makes some fights... I just lost the bubble shield. It makes some things a little bit harder because I can't run as fast and I can't jump as high as Sonic can. So, those little chimes you hear are sort of a countdown for drowning. Okay, that wasn't that bad. So I have 4 lives now, and that's because I got more than 100 rings last time. Obtaining 100 rings gives you an extra life. And of course after you hear 3 of those chimes when you're underwater, the next thing that you hear will be a countdown from 5. And once that countdown reaches 0, you drown. Ironically, the water zone here, Hydro City zone, is not the one that you have to really worry about drowning in. That would be launch-based zone. At least for the Knuckles playthrough. Tails pretty much has to never worry about drowning because he can just fly up out of the water. So if you're playing this game for the first time, Tails is easy mode. Just remember that. And Knuckles is basically hard mode. Ooh, okay. That right there can actually crush you if you're not careful. Okay, 9 rings away from an extra life. Ooh, that was close. Almost lost my progress. There we go. Extra life. And there's a big ring there for a special stage, but like I said, I'm not going to do that for Knuckles. I recommend only doing that for Sonic's playthroughs. Okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to get up here. These parts right here, they look pretty easy, but I do recommend taking them slow and careful because you can easily, a simple mistake can get you crushed. Notice the background of these stages. For a 16-bit system, like the Sega Genesis was, this was actually pretty impressive. It didn't have the color palette. It didn't have the available color palette of the Super Nintendo, which was Sega's competitor at the time. But despite it having a drastically reduced color palette, the designers really made use of it in a way that not even a lot of Super Nintendo games did. Like, just admire the background of this. This looks amazing for its time period. This was early 90s. In fact, arguably the console generations that came right after that, right after the 16-bit era, looked worse. Oh, now this is interesting. When playing a Sonic or Tails, Knuckles will appear on the other side of this wall and hit a switch and will collapse the bridge and make you fall down into the boss arena. But since you're playing as Knuckles, you don't do that. You're the antagonist, so you simply just come this way and break through the wall. And again, this path was in the original Sonic 3, it just wasn't accessible until later on Sonic and Knuckles released. Okay, this has to be glided over. They want to make it clear that this is a Knuckles exclusive thing. Yeah, this is definitely a Knuckles exclusive area. Alright, another one where you just have to sort of take it slow and easy. Don't rush these things. There is a time limit for these zones, so you do die if you take more than 10 minutes for an act. But there's not much of a danger of that here. Okay. This is an example of a slightly harder boss for Knuckles. With Sonic and Tails, this guy descends, so you can reach him easily. He goes down when he does his water spout, so you just jump up and hit him. But for Knuckles, he doesn't go down at all. He stays at the same height. So you have to find other ways up to him. Part of it is riding that water spout. Another part of it is if you time it just right, you can use these bombs to launch you. Like that. There we go. Only got 2 hits that time, but if you do it just right, you can repeatedly bounce on top of this guy until he dies. And I just messed that up because I did glide. There we go. Like that. Nice. Now this next zone is one where there's a pretty significant danger of getting a timeout. That and the Sandopolis zone much later on. Alright. Alright, Marble Garden Zone. When it comes to visuals, this is one of the ones I like the least. That and Sandopolis Zone. I just don't really like those. Hydro City was amazing, as was the first one, Angel Island Zone, with especially like the fiery montage in the background. Not montage, but you know what I mean. Like the zone started out as a typical sort of jungle area, and then after that first encounter with the mini-boss, everything was on fire and it just looked cool. This is a mimic spike, so these look like regular spike traps, except they're not. The danger is not landing on top of them because you can bounce. The danger is being shot, but my electricity shield deflects those projectiles, so not a big deal. Okay, I cannot jump up this as Knuckles because he just can't jump as high. So I need to find another way. And... but you see why a timeout is a potential issue here. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Okay, that did not work out well. Alright, forget this. I'm gonna look for something else. I don't even know what hit me there. Really? I have to start all over? Alright. Try this again. One downside to this game is not being able to see where you're going. It's not quite as bad with Knuckles, but... so the whole theme of Sonic games is running fast, right? Well, that wasn't something that could be fully realized until the 3D era, and the reason for that is that in the 2D era, of course, your problem was you can't see what's in front of you. So you can run fast. You can run really fast in these games, but you probably shouldn't because since it's a 2D game, you can't see that far in front of you. I don't know how this is gonna work. Since you can't see that far in front of you, you can easily run right into an enemy. All right, forget this. I'm gonna have to look for something else. So this way is not gonna work, and it's been a while, so I'm probably missing something. You know, I know I can't get up here, but what if I glide here? Okay, there we go. And then glide. There, okay. That's the key. I may have to use that top. Okay, yeah, it looks like I'm going to use the top. These things can be a little bit hard to control. Yeah. Don't want to hit the spring. Okay, I didn't want to hit that either. Hopefully I don't need the top to break. Some walls and floors in the stage can only be broken by using one of those tops. That one area I was trying to jump up by gliding that I couldn't get up, that may be something that only Tails can do. Now I think about it, yeah, that probably makes sense that only Tails can probably get up that way. And of course, this little thing that we're doing here only works if you have a top. That's definitely a mimic. So, we'll do that. They're only vulnerable to spin dashes from the side. There we go, extra life. Nope, don't want a special stage. I could probably do some special stages, I just don't want to do the ring ones. Because I don't want the Chaos Emeralds. Yeah, I'm approaching this slowly because I know there's danger everywhere, which is sort of antithetical to the whole theme of Sonic, of running fast. You know, people divide Sonic up into classic Sonic and modern Sonic. I kind of see it as like 3 different divisions. So there's classic Sonic, which is like the 2D Sonic, which includes, you know, Sega Genesis, Game Gear, and even like the, you know, stuff like the Game Boy Advance Sonics, the Sonic Advance games. Then I would consider the Sonic Adventure games. Let's just Sonic Adventure and Sonic Heroes. We'll say that as sort of like an intermediary stage, where there was a transition to 3D. Still kept a lot of the platforming, like traditional platforming elements, and you know, interesting boss fights and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll definitely lump in Sonic Heroes with Sonic Adventure 1 and Sonic Adventure 2. And then the more modern... I'll delineate the more modern Sonic games by the boost mechanic, where it's a 3D game, and some of them are all 3D or hybrid 2D and 3D, but they have this boost mechanic where you press a button to go faster, and those games do have more of an emphasis on speed, which I think is closer to the original vision of the Sonic franchise of a game all about speed. So the modern, for all the problems, and there are a lot of problems in modern Sonic games, they did achieve that ideal. But that being said, I like the Sonic Adventure era games the best. Oh, okay. Okay, that was an example of a floor that can only be broken with the top. Wow, that was close. Of course, my main criticism of these classic Sonic games is that it actively penalizes going fast, even though that's literally the theme. So remember, when you're playing classic Sonic, always go slow in a game about going fast. because that's totally logical. Obviously, there does have to be some obstacles and stuff, you know, dangers when going fast, but again, that's something that the 3D games were able to handle in a way that the 2D games cannot. Just, no matter what they do, just by virtue of the fact that 2D games limit your visibility, that's why they can't do that balancing act. At least with the modern games, you can go fast with obstacles and enemies to dodge because you can see them coming from a distance. Okay, thanks, that was convenient. Oh, by the way, he wasn't credited for this, but one of the composers for the Sonic 3 soundtrack is actually Michael Jackson. So if you're thinking that this music sounds really good, well, that's why. Okay. Knuckles is not able to jump that high. So, have to find another way. I did say that Knuckles had easier stage traversal. This stage might be an exception to that. Oh wow, okay. That enemy almost got me. There we go. So normally the boss that Knuckles fights is a harder version of the boss that Sonic and Tails fight. But the boss fight for this stage is very different for Knuckles. Like, nothing at all similar to the boss for Sonic and Tails. And there's a reason for that, a plot reason, which is that for Sonic and Tails, the fight takes place in the air. And even if you're playing as Sonic solo, Tails will show up and give Sonic a lift up into the air for the fight. But since, you know, Knuckles is the antagonist to them, Tails obviously isn't going to give Knuckles a boost. So they made the Knuckles fight take place on land. That's why it's very different. Oops. Okay, that was kind of close. There we go. I suspect that the position that... I'm suspecting that where he shoots out these things probably has something to do with where he saw me last. At least that's the theory I'm working on. Maybe that's not correct. So I'm gonna try to test it out, and hopefully he doesn't shoot anything into the corner. That was actually pretty easy. In the Sonic and Tails version, Knuckles will actually flood the stage, leading to a significant underwater portion. Okay, this is annoying. There we go. Casino-themed stages are common in Sonic games, but I'm glad for this one they resisted the temptation to do the dumb trope of making Sonic a pinball. I like pinball, but for a lot of Sonic games, whenever there's a casino-themed stage, they always have a mini-game where Sonic becomes a pinball. And it does get kind of annoying. Especially like when there's timed challenges. Like for instance in Sonic Adventure, where there were some timed challenges to get all the emblems, and one of those time challenges took place in a stage where you had to play Sonic as a pinball, which you can't really, it's hard to speedrun that. Oh, this is a kind of difficult fight. This little spinning top, it has to hit this thing when it's open, and the way to make it open is to jump on it, but you don't want to jump on it when it's electrified. Yeah, this might actually take a few tries. And of course you have to be quick with this because this thing can destroy your platform. Okay. The final boss of Act 2 is notorious for wasting your time. It's easy to get a timeout in this zone because of how long that boss fight takes. Because you pretty much just get like one opportunity to attack him like every minute or so. And wait till you see the version that Knuckles has to fight. Oops, this is a kind of a trap actually. Yeah, this might be the most annoying part of the stage. Okay, I'm gonna have to jump. I need to glide, but this thing is, there we go. Okay, so the idea is to be gliding before you pass over it. Oh, wow, okay. Was not expecting to see spikes down there. Alright, I really need... There we go, a ring. Ah, there we go. Lightning shield, so these guys are harmless now. Oh, okay. You have to fire when it's diagonal, but the timing is very specific, so you don't hit those spikes. There we go. And there we go. Knuckles can straight up skip the boss for this. There's an upper path and a lower path that you can take. If you take the lower path as Knuckles, and it's only available for Knuckles, it lets you just straight up skip the boss fight. Which is good because that was just it's a badly designed boss. Its whole gimmick is running out the clock to waste your time. So a lot of these stages have very visually stunning backgrounds. This stage, I think, has one of the better looking foregrounds. missed that jump. This part can be a little bit tricky. So, fun fact, when I was playing Sonic and Knuckles back in the 90s, I actually could not beat that game. It was specifically Zone 2, Flying Battery Zone, where I just could not beat it. And actually, now that I think about it, I think that was probably because I couldn't find my way through the zone. Like, I would get lost. What I didn't know is that there's a fake wall. Okay, this boss says you can take risks with this boss and try to like hit it when it's like these little snowballs aren't protecting it, like when they're horizontal. But I just, you know, it's best to just play it safe. So, oops. I can only get more than one hit in there. Next time. So just stay in a corner. And, okay, once it releases, just, okay, got 3 hits that time. Oops. Yeah, you definitely don't want to hit these. The final boss of this zone is... he's hard with Sonic and Tails and much harder with Knuckles because of like one difference. So this boss could actually take me a few tries. Somehow I can never get enough momentum for that to land on that platform, as Knuckles anyway. The only hope for an easy victory is to land on top of him and just bounce repeatedly until... Okay, I can maybe do this. Okay, I got this. Now I just have to wait for him to turn around and then quickly... There we go. In the past, that boss has been kind of a struggle. Okay, this zone is the final zone for the Sonic 3 zones. By that alarm I just ran past, it triggers these birds to come attack you. You can jump over the alarms and the birds won't attack, but they're an easy enemy, so it's no big deal. If I remember right, this stage, there are a lot of these fire spouts that are hard to see coming until you run right into them. So I have to watch out for those. By the way, this thing won't just take your rings away, it'll kill you in one hit. Because it counts as a crush death. Whoa, okay. Okay. Should have expected that to fall. Guess I'm not super familiar with the rules for platforms floating in midair. Yep, that's one of the fire. This one's harmless because I'm over it, but that one, you can run right into that. And you can just jump over this alarm and no bird will attack. This music is so 90s. So much of surviving this zone is taking it very slow. Again, a game supposedly about speed. Just need 7 more rings. One more ring. Finally. It's good to stock up on extra lives early because some of the later stages can be a little bit difficult. And actually, now I think about it, this stage can be difficult, especially the Act 2. There's a drowning section where you're very likely to drown. And then the boss of Act 2 is... Oops. The boss of Act 2 can be pretty challenging. In fact, for the Sonic 3 games, when you're playing that as a single game, for Sonic and Tails, it's actually slightly different, where it acts as the final boss of the game. So obviously the challenge is a little bit increased. So there's this robot that, for Sonic and Tails, for Sonic 3 as a standalone game, you fight the robot because it's the final boss of the game. For the combined game as Sonic and Tails, you don't fight the robot, you fight one of lesser difficulty, because it's not the final, because it's a combined game. But for Knuckles, because everything has to be harder for Knuckles for some reason, you fight that same robot. That was the final boss. Oops. By the way, there's 2 of these here, these things. For Sonic and Tails, you only fight one of them. There's actually a much safer way to do this. I'm just impatient, so I'm being risky with it. Ah, okay. Alright, so this time I'll play safe. The safe way is to just outrun these things and then counterattack once the arms retract. And given what I know about what the final boss is going to be, I should definitely, play it safe. Oh. Okay, there goes that idea. So that'll be the play then, is spin dash. Okay. No rings, but I can do this if I am just careful. Oh, that was close. Maybe one more hit should do it. There we go. So yeah. Gotta be careful with that. See, that floating platform doesn't collapse when you stand on it. The physics of platforms floating in midair are a bit inconsistent. What? Okay, I guess there was a thing there. Whoa. Okay. Well, this might not last long. Oh yeah, and I can also time out on this one too, because the final boss can take a bit of time. And with all these delays I'm experiencing here, that could be a risk. But fortunately, if you time out once, it'll actually reset your time after you die. You just lose a life. Ah. Oh no, I remember this. I'm supposed to... There's a water shield you can get. And if you don't get the water shield, there's more of a risk. Okay, that wasn't so bad. But yeah, that countdown you heard, that was a countdown to drowning. And here's another water shield, in case I needed it. Don't like only having 2 rings here, because I'm approaching the boss. I think. Maybe I still have a bit more to go. What happened? Where? Oh no. Seriously? I clipped through the wall. Come on, please don't do this. Okay, the physics broke in this game. It's supposed to go up that ramp, and somehow I went through the wall. Okay, somehow I need this thing to just, like, I don't know, die somehow. I don't want to reset, because even though the game saves, it saves after every zone, and I'm on Act 2, the last part of Act 2 of this zone. So it would take a long time for me to get back to here. And it seems like the only way I'm gonna be able to get free is for there to be a timeout, which happens at the 10-minute mark. Well, this is dumb. I hate this so much. This has literally never happened before. I didn't know, even know it was possible. Like, I was just, going up that ramp as the same as many other times, and somehow I got stuck inside the wall. Should literally not be possible. Well, anyway, while I'm waiting for there to be a timeout in another 4.5 minutes, so we can do this part again. It's interesting to talk about other. So I decided after I play through this part as Knuckles on today's stream, I'm gonna go ahead and also do the final boss as Supersonic, because that is exclusive to Supersonic, and it is interesting to show off because, as far as I know, and I haven't played every single spin-off game of Sonic ever made, but as far as I know, this is the first Supersonic exclusive boss in the series. A lot of people will think of Sonic Adventure and the Supersonic fight against Perfect Chaos, but this came first, the one that's in this game, and it's actually pretty good. Kind of a weird mechanic with the rings and stuff, but it's interesting. And it doesn't take that long to show off, so I'll do that at the end of this stream. Also, I do want to mention that I am playing on, with the actual original Sega Genesis cartridges, using an actual Genesis controller. If you want a more modern way of experiencing these games, I actually would highly recommend Sonic Origins Plus. It's available for modern consoles, like I have it on PS5. It has a number of quality of life improvements, like, for example, if you play the anniversary mode as opposed to the classic mode, you can do away with lives completely, and just not have to worry about that. You can also play as additional characters in games that they were not originally meant for. Like, for example, you can play as Amy in all. You can play as Amy in all the Sonic Genesis games: 1, 2, 3, Knuckles, and CD. Which Amy can be interesting to play as. There's also the anniversary mode is also widescreen, so you have more visibility to see what dangers are there before you run straight into them. And you can also play in classic mode, and classic mode is just like the original Sega Genesis games. So if you prefer the original versions, you still have that with Sonic Origins Plus. In addition, so Sonic Origins Plus contains Sonic 1, 2, Sonic CD, and this game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles. The Plus and Origins Plus also includes the Game Gear games. There's quite a few Game Gear games for Sonic. I haven't played all of those before. I might at some point. But if you want to experience the classic Sonic era, excluding the Game Boy Advance games or the Neo Geo Color game, then yeah, Sonic Origins Plus is a good option. Plus, I mean, it's a modern console, so you don't have to hook up, old hardware like this. All right, less than a minute to go. This was terrible. Like, even though this music was interesting, it gets really tiring after listening to it for like 10 minutes. Hey, maybe a bug like this was fixed in Sonic Origins Plus. You never know. I would assume if they're gonna, re-release it for modern consoles, they probably would have fixed some of the bugs. But again, I'm playing on an original cartridge, so, with cartridge games, there was no bug fixing. It's just, if there was a bug on release, you're stuck with it. Okay. Now that time has expired, let's see there. Okay, good. So I can start off at that checkpoint with my time reset to 0. And this time, it didn't trap me. Wow. Alright, this boss, you kind of want to play it safe because it will spike ball. And you can only hit him on the glass dome. If you try to hit him on the gun part, it will damage you for some reason. Oops. Fortunately, if you get hit, you have a brief moment of invincibility, so I could hit him there where I otherwise would not be able to. So, I'm gonna have to get through this with 1 ring. Alright, never mind, I'm gonna have to get through this with 0 rings. Okay. Well, this is why it was important for me to get a bunch of extra lives early, because this one is really going to take some lives off. Okay. Yeah, looks like I can hit him, but according to the completely arbitrary rules of the game, I can't. Otherwise, I get damaged. Ah. Didn't see that spike ball there. And since it rotates behind the robot, you just sort of have to try to predict when the spike ball is going to come. You know, if he was really smart, he would just coat the entire thing in spikes. Alright, so one ring to get me through this. And this, by the way, is not the challenge. I'm gonna play it safe, not gonna risk it. I'm not gonna risk hitting him until I can actually see the spike ball. Because the actual challenge is coming up later. This is what I'm worried about. You have to be pretty precise with your jump. Jump too low and he'll grab you. Jump too high and the spike will get you. It's really tough to hit it just right. Wow, okay, this is becoming pretty difficult. I guess I have to jump early. And again, for the original Sonic 3 game, this was the final boss. And now for the combined game, it lets you skip this if you're playing as Sonic or Tails, but of course, since everything has to be harder for Knuckles, you don't get to skip it. Okay, so that was a bit of a challenge. So this is all the Sonic 3 stages done now. Now we're moving on to the Sonic and Knuckles stages. Visually, this is one of my favorite zones. It's kind of cheap in the trick that they do with color palette changes, but I still like it. So this right here I have to go in, because, so, in the combined game, if you've collected all 7 Chaos Emeralds, then at this point, they'll be transformed. You'll lose them, but then they'll be transformed, and you'll have the opportunity to collect all 7 Super Emeralds. Like, I can actually do this now if I want to, but I'm not going to. Okay, maybe it's gonna make me do this. Okay, it might make me do a special stage, so I'll try it. Oops. Turned too early. That's fine. I'm not gonna try to collect all these Chaos Emeralds. Oh, that's another quality of life thing that Sonic Origins Plus does. It has a dedicated button for transformations. So if you unlock like Super Knuckles, for instance, there's no downside anymore because you can actually choose when to activate it, as opposed to automatically activating every time you double jump. Because if I were to activate it, if I were to have collected it in this game, and I have 50 or more rings, then anytime I want to glide or climb up a wall, it'll automatically activate Super Knuckles, whether I want it to or not. And the reason why you wouldn't want that is, well, it does come with invincibility, which is nice, and extra speed and all that, but when you're transformed, you're constantly losing rings. Plus, you know, it completely trivializes all the boss fights because it makes you completely invincible. And, you know, since I'm streaming this, part of my goal here is to sort of show off these boss fights. So, I don't want to trivialize them. I want to, you know, do the fights as they're intended. Oh, don't want to do that. The original Sega Genesis controllers had 3 main buttons other than the start. They had, you know, A, B, and C. So if they wanted to, they really could have made a differentiation between a jump button and a transform button, if they wanted to. But for some reason they didn't think about that. Instead they made all 3 of those buttons all jump. If you have a fire shield, you can just stand under this guy and repeatedly jump up until he's dead. But I don't have a fire shield, so I'm going to have to do this the hard way. Oops. Maybe I... Oh, okay, I can't bounce on him because he has that thing that shoots up. Yeah, the Knuckles version, he sometimes makes wood bounce off the ground as opposed to going straight, as a way to sort of trip you up. Alright. So this Act 2 is going to have several palette changes, which, you know, lazy way to make the thing more interesting, but I still like it. Plus they introduced a new enemy type. It's an annoying enemy, but it's new. It's like a change of season, almost, here. Oops. In the other games I've been streaming, I've been doing story analysis. You know, analyzing the themes of the plot, symbolism, all that. There's nothing like that in this game. It's very simplistic. It's Eggman bad, Knuckles dumb, Sonic the hero. You know, it's very basic. Okay, so this boss has some obstacles you have to go through, and for the Knuckles version specifically, there's some obstacles that you specifically have to glide through. Oops. Oh, I lost my rings. Okay, well, so I'm going to approach this a little bit differently. Instead of being in such a rush, I need to slow down a little bit. And time things back. Because the thing is, those flames that comes out can damage you, so you also have to not only avoid the obstacles, but you sort of have to predict when his flames are going to come out. But if I hang back a little bit and wait... Okay, I can do this. Just have to not rush things so much. Or if you do rush, you can run underneath them and hit them like that. Now there is a glitch sometimes with Knuckles where occasionally when you're fighting this boss, instead of Egg Robo appearing, it'll show Eggman instead. But I believe that's a glitch. Or who knows, maybe they programmed it intentionally to like have a small chance of happening, just as like an Easter egg. This was the 90s after all, so developers were prone to weird Easter eggs like that. Alright, so back in the 90s when I used to play Sonic and Knuckles as a standalone game, this was the stage I could never get past. And it wasn't that there was like a particularly hard boss or anything, it was just I got lost. And I'll show exactly where I got lost too, because it's not intuitive at all, the solution. Good thing I have this fire shield, because that's a risky jump. And this is a trap, so I'm gonna avoid that. Two extra lives. So this, of course, sends you flying back up, but this is a fake wall. How you're supposed to know that? No idea, but guess you just have to experiment. But this isn't actually the part where I get stuck before. That comes a little bit later. You know what? I forget which colors mean which bonus stages. But it'll be nice if I can get myself another shield. Even a bubble shield will do. A fire shield. Okay, a fire shield is better. Okay, cool. There's different colors for the stars for bonus stages, and they give you different stages. The one I was just playing is the ideal one if you're looking for shields. This is what you have to do. So, bombs fall everywhere, but you have to get bombs to fall in this specific location twice in order to open up the path to proceed. That's where I would get stuck, because it's unintuitive. And this one's easy, you just stand and move it out of the way so it hits itself. Pretty easy. Shields work differently for Sonic, where the type of shield you have changes your double jump. So like, for example, if Sonic has the fire shield, doing a double jump makes him shoot forward, like turn into a fireball and shoot forward. Bubble shield makes him bounce, lightning shield gives him a little double jump with like sparks coming out. But the most interesting thing is when he has no shield and you do a double jump, you have what's called an insta-shield, where you can basically, it's kind of like Dark Souls, where you can basically iframe through attacks and not get damaged. So if you're playing as Sonic and you time your attacks just right, you can go right through enemy defenses and not have to worry about taking damage. It's a bit tricky, but it is doable. The Insta-Shield is a feature I kind of wish I'd bring back into modern Sonic games. It was a cool thing to do. And, I mean, now that it's sort of like a staple of the Souls games, I don't see why not. I don't remember if I'm supposed to go right or left. Okay, looks like right. And I have a perfect shield right now, so I'm not going to go to any special stages. Okay, I had a perfect shield. And I had rings too. I actually don't remember what the boss for this area. So I know This is one of those two-stage boss fights, and I know what the first stage is. I just don't remember the second stage. Oh yeah, actually now I remember. It's also one that's sort of trickier for Knuckles. And there's like a chase sequence. There we go. The first stage is so trivial, I don't know why they even bothered putting it in. You just wait for this laser to fire, move out of the way, and repeat. Like literally the most brain-dead thing you can manage. Let's see if I can do it with my eyes closed. Oh, I guess that's in. Oh, not that way. Not that way. Okay, well. I'm supposed to clairvoyantly know to go left instead of right, I guess. That's a totally reasonable expectation. Okay, so now this is the real boss fight. And notice how much time elapsed. If you're not careful, this is another one of those zones where a timeout is likely. If I get 2 hits in there. So there's 4 flame attacks. Let me just get over here. Okay, yeah, 2 hits. I don't know about Sonic, but I know with Tails, he doesn't do the fire thing when he comes up. And notice how it's Eggman I'm fighting and not Egg Robo. I'm not sure that's a glitch or intentional, actually. Because Eggman, I think, is still trying to pretend to be on Knuckles' side. That's why he's using Egg Robo as a disguise. Okay. I hate this zone so much. A timeout is likely here. And not because I glitched into a wall. Act 1 is not really the problem, it's Act 2. And also just visually, this is one of the... Most of the stages look nice visually, not this one. And the one after this is not so great either. Mushroom Hill was peak. So was Ice Cap Zone, Angel Hill Zone, Hydro City Zone, but this is just ugly. Just gotta wait for this. Sonic and Tails could jump up there, but I can't try it because I'm just cannot jump that high. Oh, okay. Go away. Alright. I didn't think it was gonna go downward with that. I was assuming it was like a straight shot with that scorpion attack. Ooh. As you can tell, when it comes to like people who speedrun these games, you pretty much have to memorize the layout of the level to know like where all the spikes are, where the platforms are, all that. This boss fight is interesting. You can't damage it directly. You have to lure it into the sand, and that's it. So, just gonna patiently wait for it. Come on. Over here. Can you jump further? Nope. You just can take it slowly. Alright. That was underwhelming. I said this boss fight was interesting, not that it was fun. These ghosts, yeah, no rings. You have to basically not let these ghosts touch you until you can get to this lever to pull the torch to send them away. So gradually the fire in the stage goes out. You actually notice it in the background. And as it goes out, the ghosts start appearing. There we go. You have to cross over, otherwise you'll be infinitely falling. Wait, maybe I'm infinitely falling now. Who knows? Let's see. Okay. Let's see if we can break the cycle here. Nope. Back. Okay, I see what needs to happen. First, remember how I said this is a easy level to time out? That's why. Okay, so I need to break the cycle twice. So there we go. I think that's it. This is not the right way, but I think the fact that I crossed over to this side should put me on the right. There we go. Still not out of danger of timing out, though. Really? That was close. Alright, so I'm just gonna keep it pressed until this thing goes up. Break that. Oh. I guess there's rules about which walls you can climb and which you can't. I'm not gonna wait for this sand. I'm just gonna continue. Okay, good. It doesn't look like there's much danger of being crushed. Those scorpions are like the most hated enemies for me. It's like even if you attack them, if you attack them on their tails, which, you know, cover their backs, so it's hard to avoid, you get damaged. That was another Knuckles specific route. when it so the Sonic 3 stages seem to have more Knuckles specific routes than the Sonic and Knuckles stages, ironically. Even though Knuckles was literally not a playable character when Sonic 3 first released. I don't know if that was supposed to happen or not. I'm assuming so. Oh, okay. That goes way too fast, but I think I remember what's supposed to happen here. Let's just hope that I can do it before there's a timeout. I really don't want to lose my shields to this Scorpion. I really hate Scorpions. Really? I'm already at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. No, this isn't right. There's... Oh, okay, I see. Let's just hope I can get to it in time. But if there's a timeout, it's not a huge deal because I can... It only takes away 1 life. Oh, really? Wow, I'm back to 2 minutes and... Okay. Oh no, because I have quite a bit to do again. This whole thing. Okay. I would have thought there would be more checkpoints. I'll probably get this part done a little bit faster now that I know I just did it, so I know where to go. Okay, this makes things easier. Oh, really? These things are good at hiding in the ceiling. Try this again. And this is why I hate this zone. But I think I'm getting better at traversing it. Not even gonna go for those rings. I'm just gonna keep climbing. Alright, now I have to remember this thing is here. Worst level of the game. It'd be nice if I could find a checkpoint. But because of the timeout situation, I don't want to specifically go looking for one. Don't want to do that. Okay, this area... Well, I thought it was going to be different, but no. Alright, so... I need to somehow... fill this place with sand, is what I'm seeing here. Okay, what's up here? There we go. And then I can just push this across. And I'm making good time now, 6:24. Not good time, but I mean, for this zone, it's good time. There we go, and this block will hold this down. So, okay. And, okay, it held temporarily, but this game operates under the logic of if it's not shown on screen, it doesn't exist. Wow, okay, this spike is gonna get in the way. There. Uh-oh, how am I gonna... There. Okay, here's the boss. It's gonna be a little tough. Oh yeah, I forgot, there's like a time... This is timed because there's an edge. And you can fall off the edge. So you have to rapidly jump to hit the face shield and then hit the boss before the face shield can regenerate. Oh, okay, that was kind of close. Next should be the lava zone. And I don't remember if I'm able to skip the boss on this one or not. I don't remember what the boss actually is. I know that a fire shield is very important for this zone. Huh. I wonder if I can just continuously damage this thing until it dies. Because you're supposed to fall down to this thing, but... Okay, most bosses would be dead by now, so I'm assuming not. I'm not gonna waste my time doing that. really want a fire shield for this area. I forget how the things that spray the pink smoke actually work. I know they can damage you, it's not, and I know you can destroy them, I'm just not sure what the rules for that are. Fire shield. Just what I wanted. Alright, gotta time this. And try not to lose my fire shield. Oh, really? Having to glide upwards and go over spikes makes this a little difficult. I'm gonna try to get a lightning shield, but oh well. Oh, those pink clouds can just kill you. Well, okay then. It looks like that it was my rings were at 0, so it probably like just drains your rings until you die. And I know there's probably gotta be a way to escape from them, but I don't know how. Oh, they can do it even when you have invincibility. So what's the point of invincibility if there are certain enemies that can still just straight up kill you without... Okay. So there should be a little asterisk by invincibility. Invincibility with this specific caveat. Okay, so now I have to worry about pink clouds. Okay. Wonder if I can just... Oh no, it did it again. Hold on. Come on. There, okay. Alright. Now I'm really gotta watch out for these pink clouds. Missed somehow. Oh, I remember this. What? I hit that thing. Was it not supposed to hit it? I'll try this again. Yeah, okay, you're supposed to hit the fingers. Don't know why it damaged me. Not sure what the rules are here for when you're supposed to hit this thing and when you're not. So the final boss for the Knuckles playthrough of this whole game is first of all, I think it's called Mecha Sonic Mark II. As far as story goes, I don't know what the difference between Mecha Sonic and Metal Sonic is, besides just being different models. Nor do I really care. I mean, I'm sure, like, for people who read the Sonic comic books and all that, there's probably an explanation. But as far as I'm concerned, you know, I'm just gonna call them all Metal Sonic. Just for the purpose of comparison, because while Metal Sonic or Mecha Sonic and all its variations have been a recurring boss in a lot of Sonic games over the years, the final boss for the Knuckles is the only one that I'm aware of in which you fight Super Metal Sonic. So that's an interesting little twist. Okay, this is not working. Good, I need a fire shield. And I'm back here again. And I cannot get up this thing. But since I have a fire shield, nope, I still can't. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh, okay, I was just supposed to know that that wall could be broken through somehow. Okay. That's perfectly logical. So remember, if you get stuck, just be clairvoyant. Alright, I hate these pink clouds. Let's see. Because I'm not sure how they work. I'm not sure if you can destroy them, how you dodge through them. This fire shield makes this part so much easier. Yeah, can you imagine if I didn't have the fire shield? Okay, gotta get that. Okay, I just lost my shield, but I saw another one here. And of course that enemy respawns and just pops out of mid-air specifically so you run into it. Again. Okay, you can destroy the pipes that emit the pink smoke. Got quite a bit of rings. I could try to collect all of these for an extra life, but I'm gonna play it safe. Oh wow, okay. Not doing terribly on time, so yeah, safety first here. Oops. Alright, so much for safety first. 85 rings. Really don't want to lose that. But what's down here? Wait, was that just here? Yeah, okay, it was a big loop. And no boss. Just go straight to Hidden Palace Zone. And I believe as Sonic, I think this is where you're supposed to fight Knuckles, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. There's more to it as Sonic. But then you go straight to Sky Sanctuary Zone. And as Sonic and Tails, there's actually quite a bit of a level here. Sky Sanctuary Zone is a pretty long level with multiple boss fights. But as Knuckles, it's just the final boss fight, which is Metal Sonic, and then he becomes Super Metal Sonic. Okay. So almost at the end of the playthrough for Knuckles. Cool. Nice trick going backwards. Yeah, that's not gonna work. That trick might work, but not the backwards trick. Alright, so now it becomes Super Metal Sonic. The only time in the history of the franchise I know of that this happens. But like I said, I haven't played every single Sonic game there is. This part can be a little bit challenging. You can only hit him when he's about to recover, but when he's actually charging and he's full of electricity, you don't want to try that. I'm going to be cautious with this fight, and there's other opportunities I could probably take to hit him, like when he first drops down, but I'm not going to risk it. Just going to be safe here. Feel like I can hit him there, but too risky. And the easiest way to dodge these blasts is just jump, stand, jump, stand. You don't try to run back and forth because you'll end up getting hit. Just they track you your last position, so if you jump over one, the next one will go high, so you stand to avoid it. So jump, stand, and that's all you gotta do. Nice try. I like how he tries to trip you up by suddenly dive bombing you like that. So you do have to watch out for that. Okay, this is different pattern. Ooh, okay. You have to jump early here. When he's briefly vulnerable. There, okay, jump early is the key. It may be tempting to jump at the lowest point of a sweep, but jump early. Cool. And that's the game as Knuckles. and I don't want to sit through the credits, so I'm gonna hit reset and play the Supersonic stage. All right, one player, and here we go. You can also do this as Hypersonic if you have him unlocked. With this save file, I think it's only Supersonic. The main difference is Hypersonic is more white instead of yellow, and if you're fighting regular enemies, you can do an instant kill attack on regular enemies on the screen. I keep forgetting I can pause this game. I'm used to playing games that you are not able to pause. So you ideally want to hang back instead. If you progress too far forward too quickly, it'll initiate this sequence early, and you don't want to do that. You want to hang back to collect as many rings as you can, because your rings constantly count down, and you're gonna want to hold on to as many rings as you can to have time to defeat him. And the idea is to guide these missiles into colliding with his head, while avoiding being shot by all these projectiles, because they'll knock you back and delay you. There we go. Okay, I'm not making good time here, actually. Yeah, some of these missiles keep missing them. Okay, this is not looking good, actually. I know it looks like I, there we go. Okay. Still, I'm running low on time because of the time it takes for this phase transition, because the fight's not over yet. Alright, so now just collect more rings. Okay, I guess I was doing okay on time. And again, just hang back. If you try to rush forward, you can move forward, but if you try to, it'll start the next phase too early. The more rings you have, the longer you can stay in the fight. Because once you reach 0, you're dead. By the way, Sonic 3 isn't the only cartridge that can lock on to Sonic and Knuckles with extra functionality. If you put the Sonic 2 cartridge on Sonic and Knuckles, then it'll let you play as Knuckles in the game Sonic 2. But since Sonic 2 is not designed with this in mind, it only allows you to play as Knuckles, and unless you glide and climb walls still, but that's all it does. That's the only change it makes, is it allows you to play as Knuckles. If you put Sonic 1 in there, I believe it lets you play the Blue Sphere minigame, where you just collect all the blue spheres and avoid the red ones. If you put any other cartridge besides those on there, it just won't work. At some point I might stream Knuckles and Sonic 2 without lock-on functionality. That'd be kind of interesting. And if I do that, I'll also use original cartridges as well. Okay, I've got quite a few rings. I'm assuming now at some point it should be progressing to the next stage. Oh wow, 6 minutes in. Well, if it's not going to progress, I'll move up. There we go. And I'm just going to attack the head and try to avoid the missiles. And the missiles and asteroids don't kill you, they just delay you. What kills you is running out of rings. And every time you hit them, you bounce back, but that's fine. Idea is just go straight for his head and attack it. And that's the Supersonic exclusive boss. And there's more differences to do, like, I mean, the Hidden Palace and Sky Sanctuary zones. There's also the Death Egg zone that Knuckles doesn't have. But if I were to show off everything, this stream lasts all day. So I wanted to show off, first of all, well, that Supersonic fight, as well as the Knuckles exclusive experience of this combined game, because that's the one that people are least likely to have played. A lot of people may have played at some point Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles, but the combined game would have the least number of players. And specifically when it comes to the combined game, there's two unique experiences really. The Tails experience and the Knuckles experience. And of the two, I believe the Knuckles experience to be the most unique. So that's what I wanted to highlight for this stream. So yeah, that's gonna do it for this stream. I will soon be finishing up Plague Tale: Innocence and continuing my stream of Elden Ring, and I'll soon be starting a stream of The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess. So look forward to seeing people next stream, and I will go ahead and end this now.